been asked to explain a little bit about how hypnosis can help to increase synchronicity in our lives, those strange coincidences that just seem to kind of happen at just the right time, kind of like when maybe you're thinking about a certain person who you haven't seen for a while, and suddenly your phone rings and there they are, or maybe you've been looking for a new place to live, the perfect apartment, and you've been hitting a lot of resistance, and then all of a sudden just the right thing happens at just the right time. Maybe you cross paths with somebody, or you run into a friend and they happen to know of the perfect place that just came on the market or something like that. You know, these are everyday examples of synchronicities, but they can take all kinds of forms. It can be numbers that seem to come up all the time on the clock, songs that come on at just the right time when you're thinking about somebody, on the radio. It can be lots of different things for lots of different reasons. But when we're talking about hypnosis, it's usually for a specific purpose that we address the issue of synchronicity. Usually somebody will come in and they'll have a certain idea, a certain goal or intention in mind, and we will start to work on that specific idea, that specific concept. And so it's important to address a real simple definition of what hypnosis is. The hypnotic state is simply a state of mind where you are suggestible, hypersuggestible, or extra receptive to certain types of information. So in order to really understand what that means, we have to talk about the different levels or different areas of the mind. So if you think of the conscious mind as being at the top of the mind. So above my hand would be the level of conscious awareness, and everything below that would be the subconscious mind. So if we think of my hand here as a barrier between the conscious and subconscious mind, we would call that barrier the critical mind. That critical mind is the part of your consciousness, or the part of your mind that decides what information, what ideas, what concepts get accepted or rejected, or are allowed or blocked and not allowed into the subconscious mind. So in the subconscious mind, we have all of our associations, positive and negative, what our mind believes is safe, what our mind believes causes pleasure, what our mind believes causes pain. These things create the map of our world, of what we want to go toward and what we want to go away from. Right at about 8 or 9 years old, a big part of our mental energy starts being turned away from forming associations and into forming that critical mind barrier. So also right at about that time, part of our mental energy goes to forming our identity. So we have associations, then our identity starts to form. Our identity is heavily influenced by our positive associations. We're far more likely to choose a life path and a path of studies and things like that that are connected to the things that we have positive associations toward. I'm not likely to choose to major in mathematics if I have a negative association toward math. So our identity is forming. Okay, that's also in the subconscious. Our associations, our identity, all in the subconscious. Then we have our beliefs and expectations, belief systems, patterns of how we make decisions. Most of our decisions are made based on the expectation or the belief about the result that we're going to get. So that's almost entirely unconscious as well. Then we have our self-worth, our self-image, self-esteem, all subconscious. We have a two-way flow of information. Information in, we call suggestibility, conditioning, and learning. Information out, behavior and communication. All of the information in and the information out flow goes through our self-worth, self-image, self-esteem, through our beliefs and expectations, through our identity, and through our positive and negative associations, kind of as if they were like lenses or filters for the information coming at us. So we make our decisions based on our self-worth, our beliefs and expectations, our identity. We communicate based on those things as well. And since we are talking about synchronicity and how we can use hypnosis to change the way we experience the world around us, it's important to note that if we want to make a change in the way we experience the world around us, we have to make a change in one or all of those filters of information. And how we increase synchronicity is by addressing several different factors. So one would be self-worth and self-esteem. If we feel like we are not, and this is all purely subconscious, by the way, because 90 to 98% of what's going on in our mind, our motivations, our decision-making process, 90 to 98% of that is unconscious. So if we unconsciously or subconsciously feel like we're not worthy of a certain opportunity, we are not likely to get that opportunity. And if the opportunity does come our way, we're far less likely to notice it or to have the courage to seize that opportunity and take advantage of it or use it. So that's one factor. If we want to increase synchronicity, we want to increase the subconscious self-worthiness for those synchronicities to come our way, or for us to notice them or use them when they appear. Another factor is just pure suggestibility. We're far more likely to experience the reality of something if we are suggestible to it. So suggestible just means receptive. If our subconscious mind does not agree with, thinks it's dangerous, or if it represents an unknown, or if there's a huge negative association about some idea, some concept, something that we desire, then we're far more likely to subconsciously avoid that situation, to block it when it comes, or just to not notice it when it appears. So this barrier here, right, the critical mind barrier, information coming into your mind, whether it's a conscious thought or something that you're perceiving in the world, comes into your conscious mind and it hits that barrier, the critical mind. The critical mind's job is to protect all the information in your subconscious mind because it sees that information as the reason why you're still alive. So you're still alive because you have a solid identity, and because when you burned your hand on the top of the stove when you were 4 years old, you never did it again. When your parents told you to stay away from black widows, you did what they said. Those things are all learned. We learn them through these associations and through interacting with people in our environment. So your subconscious mind, and its number one priority, keeping you safe, is something that the critical mind wants to protect. So when the critical mind stops a piece of information at the level of the conscious mind, it decides whether it's going to let that information through based on whether or not it agrees with what's already in your subconscious mind, or if it represents the unknown. If it represents the unknown, or if it doesn't feel safe, it will reject that information, and you either just won't notice it, or you'll deny it, or you will be so overloaded by other information that your attention just won't focus on it. So that's another really important factor, attention, okay? Because synchronicities are happening around us all the time. We just often don't notice them. So when somebody's in a hypersuggestible state, when the hypnotic state is the state where we have that critical mind barrier open. So when somebody's in that state, we can actually put into their subconscious mind a suggestion about the expectation of certain synchronicities. When you make somebody, or when somebody allows themselves or is made to be suggestible to certain ideas of synchronicity, then they leave the office with that information already in their subconscious mind. So they leave subconsciously expecting more synchronicity. Therefore, they leave with their attention subconsciously more receptive to and more focused on coincidences and events that are aligned with or in alignment with the desires that they have and the goals that they have that we're working on in therapy. So simply their attention, that's something analogous to that would be like when you get a new car and you get on the freeway in this new car and you suddenly start realizing how many other people drive the same car that you just bought. 10,000 people in Los Angeles didn't just buy that car the same day that you did and drive onto the freeway at the same time. It just happens to be that since you got it, your attention is more focused on that car. And so now you notice it all the time. The reason you didn't notice it all the time before was because your critical mind thought that it was meaningless or useless information. So your attention didn't focus on it. You weren't suggestible to it at the time. So now that you're suggestible to it, you notice it far more often. That's probably the number one most important factor with synchronicity, is simply that we are ready to notice it. And when we're ready to notice it, the ones that have already been there or have always been there or come and go constantly, we are more prepared to see them. And when we're more prepared to see them, we're more prepared to use it, to access it, to allow it. And if we've addressed the self-worth or some subconscious limitations, resistance, self-sabotage, if we've addressed those things, then you're also more likely to be willing and ready to seize those opportunities that the synchronicities represent and use them to your advantage. So those are some really simple and basic, but also really important factors in how synchronicity can be increased using hypnosis. We also can go in and we can remove certain belief systems that may have been blocking your awareness of synchronicity. Or we can remove belief systems or patterns of behavior which have been interfering with your ability to believe that you are capable or worthy of certain goals or realities that you have in mind that you want to create. So if you don't believe that you're worthy of, don't believe that you're capable of, or both, that means that you're suggestible to those beliefs. Therefore, that's the experience that you're going to have, because all that subconscious information that you have in your mind, that makes up the aggregation of all that makes up your subconscious life script. That's the information that your subconscious mind is enacting in the form of real experience every day. So if your subconscious mind tells you that, or believes that you'll never make over $100,000 a year, then the synchronicities that are coming your way trying to get your attention, to get you the job that you want or that you have been working for, whatever it is, these things will not be noticed, will not be allowed, or even they might even be outright sabotaged or resisted due to the lack of subconscious alignment or support for these opportunities that are coming your way. Now, the next most important factor is that 90% subconscious, 10% conscious. It could even be as high as 98% in your subconscious mind, and 2% of your mental power is in your conscious mind. Now, the reason why this is important is because if we have 90% of our consciousness, 90% of our mind, believing that we're only capable of a certain level of accomplishment, and then we have 10% of our mind, our conscious mind, that knows that we're capable of more, they're not going in the same direction. One's pushing this way, the other's pushing this way. If the 90% is pushing this way, then it's going to overpower what you consciously know you're capable of. Or say you have a conscious goal to write a book. You have a conscious goal to write a book. And your subconscious mind, due to maybe bad grades that you got, or people telling you when you were young that maybe you have a learning disability or something like this. All these things that we take in when we're young, especially when we're really suggestible, they can interfere with your ability to successfully write a book. So if you have 10% of your consciousness that knows that you're a good writer, that you're talented, you have read a lot, you've got a great vocabulary, and everybody in your adult life who reads your work tells you your work is great, but 90% of your subconscious mind from earlier in life, mostly that information comes from, is telling you that you've got a learning disability, you're dyslexic, or whatever it is. These are just examples. But if that 90% doesn't agree with what the 10% knows, then again, that 90% will push the 10% out of the way. But if we can get that 90% of the subconscious and the 10% of the conscious mind focused in the same direction, on the same realities, on the same beliefs, we can go in when we have that barrier open through the critical mind, and we can tell your subconscious mind not only that you're a great writer, but we can put an image to make to make a known positive association. We can put an image into your subconscious mind of this is what your finished book looks like. This is what it will feel like when your book is published. We can put all that information in, then have 100%, because your subconscious mind now comes into a supportive role. It comes into alignment with what you consciously want. So that 100% of your mental power is focused in the same direction. Now there's no inner conflict, and you have the ability to go straight for what you want with the support of your subconscious life script. You're far more likely to attract and notice opportunities in the form of synchronicities when 100% of your mental power is focused in the same direction. If there are any more questions, you can always email me at ian@hypnotropia.com. That's IAN@HYPNOTROPIA.com. Thank you.